Bang.
Bang. Welcome back, folks. It's great to be here. I'm out in California at an undisclosed location, wink, wink. And yesterday I was in Glendale, California at another undisclosed location in Glendale at Adam Carolla's studio, and had a fabulous time talking crypto. We'll put up links to that podcast when it goes up today. But yeah, Adam and Gina and Brian, the other folks on his show, they were all great. And we got to talk a lot of crypto, which was really fun because, you know, they had genuine interest in crypto and NFTs. And, you know, it wasn't just a passing interest. They were.
We seem to have lost John there for a second. But we're looking forward to watching that podcast later with Adam Carolla, definitely. And it's exciting to hear that,
like,
you know.
Why would people do this? You know, is this a safe?
Okay, you're back, John.
Let me. Oh, am I? Do you think I should take the camera down? Do you think it's taking too much bandwidth? Yeah, it says my internet connection is unstable, so maybe that's why.
Okay. Yeah, we can just.
Well, you guys decide if this is
the Doge audio today. Yeah, you sound. But yeah, it's exciting to hear that, you know, even Adam Carolla, which is a demographic that, you know, I don't typically associate with crypto, is excited about crypto. I think that kind of speaks to the growing interest in the space for sure. And, you know, CJ, that's reflected in the price action as well. We're seeing some pretty solid price action. We talked about some bullish technicals yesterday. So you want to tell us what you're seeing with the Bitcoin chart today?
Yeah, nice follow-up to the bullish engulfing candle yesterday. If you've looked in what we've seen kind of historically in these past couple runs after getting that bullish engulfing candle, it's not like we just go, you know, straight up to new all-time highs, but we've started with a little bit of a spinning top today and are just kind of continuing that bullish uptrend. I expect kind of a neutral bullish consolidation for the rest of the week as we proceed above 55K. That's going to be a critical level for the bulls. Yeah, there's also a lot of interesting information coming out of Glassnode, namely around perpetual futures funding rates, as well as the SOPR, that short-term holders metric. And overall, what we're seeing is just a massive reset period or a massive decline in the amount of short-term futures perpetual funding rates. And the way that we interpret that is essentially shorter-term holders that are coming in, say, to speculate on a potential scalp trade towards the end of a parabolic run. Those traders are primarily left the market, judging by these perpetual funding rates. So that leads me to believe that at that bottom of around 47,000, a lot of those weak hands were shaken out of the markets. And based on the technical price action and the fact that we have those short-term holders kind of wiped away from the market, it leaves room and it opens the door for more of a authentic rally, in my opinion, up to potentially new highs before, you know, those futures rates come back and the funding rates increase again.
Yeah, that's interesting, CJ. These are pretty interesting metrics. And, you know, people might look at these perpetual future funding rates and think, it might not be, you know, particularly bullish that we're not seeing too many people speculate on the future value of Bitcoin. But I totally agree with you that, you know, it leads to a more authentic rally. And it kind of prevents us from getting into that state we were in at the start of last week, where if you have too many levered longs in the market, it can lead to parabolic growth to the upside. But it also makes the reversal much more severe. And, you know, we saw that when those levered longs got wiped out. We saw a 10K 4-hour candle where we went from like 61 to 51K. So, you know, I like to see that this like organic, authentic growth. And I think that's supported by these Glassnode metrics. So definitely worth mentioning. But John, one thing that you were mentioning before we started the show today was a new asset that you wanted, not a new asset, but an asset that you wanted to focus a lot of your attention on going forward, and that is Ethereum. So you want to talk to us about Ethereum and why you're liking it so much right now?
Sure. I just, the more I've been trading it and so forth, the more this one just even on that recent sell-off, guys, they couldn't hardly dent this thing. I mean, I know you guys saw it, but the demand for, DeFi projects is just so huge at this time that I think this is one, and I think it's going to outperform Bit over the next 9 months or whatever, 8 months of this year. And so I would not be surprised if ETH did push towards 10,000 on this run this year, whereas Bitcoin seems like, yeah, the trend is still to the upside. We consolidated, as we broke through 50. A lot of put buying came in at that 50 strike on all the exchanges where you can do that, whether it's the CME or Deribit or wherever. A lot of 50 puts came in, and volatility came down. And obviously it shot up as Bitcoin fell from, say, 55 down to 47. But then as it held that level and started pushing back up, and people were buying some protective puts at that 50 strike, we noticed that the volatility came down from about an 85 to about a 77 for at the money volatility. And, a lot of times it doesn't work out that way. When obviously volatility generally goes up when an asset goes down, people are afraid and they're looking for protection. But in this case, after it got down there, they started liquidating and selling volatility. So they weren't liquidating coins at 47. They were buying coins and buying puts, which is a synthetic call option. So I thought that was really productive for Bitcoin. And I think it's partly why it's back here into the low, pushing towards the mid 50s again. But yeah, Ethereum, Monty, just never stopped. I mean, it held, and it seemed to be a DeFi safe haven, even though it's of course not a tether or not a stable coin. But boy, it was stable as far as its reaction to, the biggest flushes that we've seen this year.
Yeah, we need a new metric. Instead of Bitcoin dominance, we need Ethereum dominance relative to all the ERC20 tokens to see, if people go into ERC20 tokens, then, if they want to get to a safe haven asset, obviously they would go into Ethereum. But I think the really cool reason why that's been occurring and why it was so resilient, even when Bitcoin was flash crashing to 47K, is you need Ethereum to participate in a lot of these DeFi assets. Now, some of the more popular ones like Uniswap, they've been listed on major exchanges so that you can buy them with USD pairs. But for instance, a lot of them, you have to go through MetaMask, and you need Ethereum specifically to get them. So I think due to the fact that gas fees were pretty low as well, it's another good reason that Ethereum held up during that bloodbath last week.
Yeah, CJ, and on that note, I wanted to mention actually the Ethereum gas fees. This metric was brought to my attention by one of our members in chat, Brad Smith. He shared this image in chat, so thank you, Brad. But yeah, this is really interesting. Like CJ just mentioned, gas fees, incredibly important to the health of the network, and they actually just reached the lowest level they've been so far in 2021. So that's very encouraging for not just ETH, but like CJ mentioned, a lot of these DeFi altcoins that, even the ones that are listed on exchanges, but even more so for the ones that aren't. This is very important. This, I think, can really, eliminate some of the dissuasion that we've been seeing for retail participants to engage in these ERC20 offerings, because, the gas fees have been so high that if you want to make a $1,000 trade, you can end up paying, up to 50% in gas fees on that. So it's not necessarily practical for the everyday investment when gas fees are very high. So when we see gas fees like dropping to, an extent that we're seeing it right now, for me, that's very encouraging for Ethereum itself, but also for a lot of these DeFi ERC20 assets that, don't have a lot of exposure yet. I think now a lot of people will be more encouraged to hop on MetaMask and maybe, spend a little bit of ETH to get exposure to a new asset. So some interesting stuff going on with Ethereum, and yeah, definitely a lot of reason to be bullish on it right now as well. Without further ado, should we hop into our doges of the day?
Sure. I'm just going to throw out one, guys, that I'm not buying yet. I've been in it before, but I'm not buying yet. And, it might even be worth a short, but Binance coin, I think, looks like it wants to go back down and test 520 area again. It's got like what some of us might say between 519 and 520 is a double bottom. Some people say there's no such thing as a triple bottom, but I think it's going to go back down and test there. This is $555 this morning. It's up 4% in the last 24 hours, but the volume is not endorsing that move to the upside. So I think if it fails here, it pushes back down, and that is the better entry down there at 520-ish. And that's where I'm going to try to buy some. But I'm also going to try to trade it from the short side for a little bit anyway today.
Okay, we'll be watching out for that dip. CJ, what have you got today for us as your Doge of the day?
My Doge of the day today is going to be Chainlink. Haven't seen as much volume in Chainlink as I would have liked to first. But as you can see, we bottomed and came up on that TD by 9 yesterday and broke above to about $35. But we still need to close above that daily SMA at 35.9. I think if we can have a strong daily close above that level, there's likely going to be some volume come into Link and test those upward resistance levels at around $41 and $44. I think if we get up to the $41 region, there's a very high likelihood that we're going to end up creating new all-time highs and potentially going to 50 in the next couple of weeks if we do have bullish price action in the overall market. So like John said, I'm not in Chainlink yet, but I'm watching it very closely for a spike in volume and a potential run this week.
Very nice, CJ. And not too surprisingly, my asset is actually in a very similar technical position as CJ's. As a lot of the assets are looking postured in a similar way technically, but I am going with DOT today, Polkadot, as my Doge of the day. And like we mentioned yesterday, it got this TD sequential by 9. It got this bullish engulfing candle. But I just want to reiterate the point that CJ just made right here, and that is the potential to make new all-time highs. So one thing that AJ Monty pointed out was the importance of a cross above this 20-period simple moving average, and that's what I'm looking for right here with DOT. I think if, like CJ said, same thing with Link, if it can get a close above this moving average, I really like its chances to make a run up to this previous all-time high and potentially break above this all-time high and move into a mode of price discovery. There's not a whole lot of resistance between now and 45.9, which is still a significant amount of price action. That's a $10 move. So, that's a pretty substantial move for DOT. And I think this is a move that could happen pretty quickly. We talked about, the lack of perpetual futures in Bitcoin and the potential for that to trade somewhat range bound. I think if that does happen, a lot of the alts will, start picking up where they left off just a few weeks ago and, reclaiming some of that Bitcoin dominance. So I think that move will happen quick. So just watch for a break above this 20-period simple moving average and then a retest of previous all-time highs. There's good reason to be fundamentally bullish on DOT. Full disclosure, I do hold DOT. And I'll just remind you that if you hold it on our sponsor Voyager, you can earn 8% interest, 9% if you hold Voyager as well, for just holding DOT. So 8% interest, one of the highest they offer for a non-stable coin. And, I think there's a good incentive to just buy this thing and hold for the long term. So that's my Doge of the day, DOT, and I will leave it there.
And keep in mind, folks, that just as Monty said about Mr. Smith, who offered some insights and a chart, you're getting two guys that really know the ins and outs of cryptocurrency in our chat room. Those are Monty and CJ. And you're also getting the combined wisdom of that crowd. So there's an awful lot of curiosity, of course, and people can ask questions and so forth, and our moderators can answer them. Also, other people in the room sometimes have great insight as well. It's the same thing as our Market Rebellion unusual activity room. The participants are sometimes just as insightful as the folks that are moderating the room, and it might point them in a different direction than otherwise they may have been going. So not necessarily the difference between bullish and bearish, but the difference between, that's interesting, and oh my God, we got to buy that. So remember, you can join for just $1 for your first month. That's $1 for the entire month to check it out. CJ and Monty and their team are in there along with these thousands of investors. And you just go to Market Rebellion and you type in try crypto. And by the way, a little love for Voyager again. If you type in Rebel 25 when you open your Voyager account, you will get $25 in Bitcoin. And if you did it last week, that $25 in Bitcoin is worth $7,000 more, whatever portion of Bitcoin in the last 48 hours, because that's how much it's moved already.
Yeah. And John's right. We have members from all over the world, and they're all of different skill levels as well. We have some beginners and some experts. So if you're looking to get started, or if you're looking to hone your skills, we can bring you some value. So like John said, if you want to try it out, it's marketrebellion.com/try crypto, and just $1 for the first month. But I think that's all we got for today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. And also be looking out for Dr. Doge on the Adam Carolla podcast, which will be airing today. Like he said, we'll be posting links for that. But I think that's all we got. So we will see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, guys.